folks. This is George Popovici, and welcome to my channel. I have Olivia Goodreau with me. Olivia is so well known in the Lyme disease community. Her story is amazing, and her foundation is helping so many folks that are suffering. So without any further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Olivia. Hi, Olivia.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Olivia, let's jump right in. Briefly tell us your story.
Absolutely. So the summer in between my first and second grade year, when I was about 7 years old, I was bitten by a tick at the Lake of the Ozarks in Missouri. About a few weeks later, I started having flu-like symptoms, body aches, brain fog. I started going blind at some points. I started passing out, and it was just really hard for me to get out of bed. Over the next 18 months, I would visit over 51 doctors in order for me to be finally diagnosed with Lyme disease. And I would have to go through multiple CAT scans, EKGs, MRIs, endoscopies, a liver biopsy, and just over 100 blood draws. And so it took me, again, 18 months, and then the 51st doctor finally did a Lyme test, and I was finally diagnosed with Lyme disease. And then 30 days later, after I did that one doxycycline protocol, I started to nosedive again. I started feeling worse. And so I knew that I needed to find a Lyme specialist. And so over the next 3 years and seeing 4 more doctors, I finally met Dr. Richard Horowitz, who is both of our doctors. And so he practically saved my life. And I've been feeling so much better with his help and with his guidance. And so at that point, I was probably in the 6th grade, which is actually the same year that I decided to start my foundation, which is the LivLyme Foundation. So I saw a story about a mom and her son, and they were living in their car so they could afford the boy's Lyme disease medication. And out of all the research that I had previously done, and out of all the stories that I had heard, that one just really resonated with me. And I figured that I had to do something. And again, at the time I was 12, so I wasn't in some government position, and I didn't have really a lot to work with, but I was like, you know what, I want to start helping people. And I already had the idea. It was going to be LivLyme because my name's Olivia, my nickname is Liv, and I'm living with Lyme disease. And I already told Dr. Horowitz before I got this foundation created, I already told him, I was like, hey, I'm having a gala. Would you be my keynote speaker? And he was like, yeah, I will. And so that was really what started this nonprofit. And we've had just such a tremendous journey with it. And we've been able to help so many people in the United States and try to bring as much awareness as possible to those in the United States and around the world.
That is a fascinating story, Olivia, and you are such a courageous young lady. I'm so proud of you, truly, because I understand the journey and we're still living this journey, right? Many people do. It goes on and on. So let's go back a second. Let's talk about your foundation. What is the basis of your foundation and how does it help people? Is it education? Is it grants? Tell us a little more about it.
So we have 2 main goals at LivLyme. The first goal is to provide financial aid for kids all across the US and hopefully in the future the world. And we try to help them receive grants and try to get them funding for their medication and for all of their hospital and doctor expenses. And then our second goal is we try to give funding and grants to scientists and universities to try and find better treatments and potential cures for any and all tick-borne illnesses out there. And much like your mission with Angels Walking With Us, the LivLyme Foundation also strives to provide a lot of awareness and education surrounding tick-borne illnesses and what it's like having a tick-borne illness.
Wow, great, Olivia. That's really good information for our viewers, both yours and mine. I want to ask you a question. When you were going through this process as a very young baby, young girl, right? How did you deal with all of the structure of doctors and a broken routine, unlike your peers who were just going along through life? How did you deal with that emotionally?
Well, at first, it was very confusing to me, seeing doctors either look at my files or talk to my parents and feeling like I was a ghost in my own illness. And it was just a very strange feeling to be left out of your own medical health and your own problem. And, out of those 51 doctors, I would say more than half of them I didn't even see. They either looked at my files and never said hi, or they just did the tests and gave up and passed me on to the next one. And so overall, my way to get through that was just looking forward to go back to school. I mean, I was 8 years old at the time. I was so excited for this upcoming fair. I was so excited just for being at school and being with my friends. And so I would just try and be as compliant as possible and try to answer all the questions, if they even asked me questions at that point. And so really, I just had hope that I would be back. I had hope that I would be with my friends and that I would be back to normal and doing exactly what they were doing, which was living their child life.
You know that one of the foundations of my book, Angels Walking With Us, is faith, hope, and miracles, because as you know, so many patients get the technical medical advice, the runaround, but there's not a lot out there that talks about having that hope. And you hit it, key right on the head, that you have to have that hope that you will get better, you are going to get better. And if you don't have that hope, it really sets you back. And I think you keyed in on that. You had that hope. Your parents had that hope, and they continued in that process for you till you reach this point.
Yes, absolutely. I think that if me and if my parents, if we didn't have that hope, we would be so far behind. I would probably still be in a hospital bed at that point. And I feel like that hope was almost kind of like this like backup medicine. It was almost like this, just like, all right, you just gotta keep pushing through it. Like you're going to find a way out. Like you're going to make it. Like it's going to be all right. And so without that hope, I would be probably really sick, and I feel like I would not have been able to join my friends at some point. And maybe I would have missed out on the rest of the school year, or missed out on high school, or maybe even college. I'm about to go into college. And so I do have to have that hope and maintain that hope that things will change and I will continue to get better, since I'm not 100% and I'm still, having symptoms. And every day I'm like, all right, well, tomorrow can be a better day. Or maybe tomorrow they find a new vaccine or new medication or a new test for people. And so I just have to maintain that hope.
That's fantastic. You and I are huge advocates of research, and that's part of your mission. You and I have spoke to many researchers. We've also lost fantastic physicians along the way. Dr. Neil Spector, I can't even tell you what a great human being he was. And Dr. Charles Ray Jones, who treated so many pediatric cases and went against the face of so many doubters. He was just a courageous man. My life has been bettered in an odd way by having this awful illness. It's made me more aware, and it's helped me to be more compassionate to folks like you, to the many children I see, the older folks I speak to from all over the globe, as you do, just to have that belief that science and faith will come together to get us to that point that we need to be at, to eradicate this earth from that horrific disease that has taken so much away from so many, including loved ones who have passed on too early as a result of this disease and its complications, I might add.
I could not agree more. I feel like being able to see people in a different light with this disease has been one of the biggest blessings I've ever received. And I feel like I've been able to have this new sense of respect for people who go through any tick-borne illness, any illness at all, any struggle at all, because at some point in their life, I could say, hey, I did that too at some point. Or like, hey, I agree with you. Like, we were in the hospital at some point together, or we had to get blood draws, or we weren't feeling good at this age together. And so I feel like not only are you more compassionate for people, but you're also more connected to those people. And so even though Lyme disease is awful and tick-borne diseases are absolutely awful, I feel like having it has made me grow more as a person and has made me help my community grow more. And, it's kind of like lemons into lemonade, limes into limeade, I guess.
Olivia, you are an amazing young lady. I cannot thank you enough for spending a few minutes with us here on Angels Walking With Us to tell us about your journey and your foundation, the LivLyme Foundation. And we're going to put links to all of this in our channel. Everybody that's listening to our interview, I'm going to ask them to subscribe and hit the little subscribe button and hit the little bell. Olivia, thank you for coming on today. You're an amazing young lady. Of course, at Angels Walking With Us, we're always here for you at the LivLyme Foundation. Let's continue to work together to bring an end to this horrible, horrible disease on this earth. Thank you, Olivia, and God bless you.
Thank you so much.